Her laugh cracked the air the moment the candle flames bowed under her breath, but the sound that reached me was hollow, a cheap echo inside a chest I no longer recognized as mine. 35 wax stubs flickered between us on the chocolate ganache, and every one of them felt like a tiny funeral pyre for the man I used to be. Sarah's eyes shone, too bright, too rehearsed, and when she leaned across the table to kiss my cheek, the scent of her perfume collided with something sharper underneath, a trace of cedar and sweat that didn't belong to me. My tongue went thick. The fork in my hand trembled hard enough to rattle the plate. She noticed, of course she did. She always noticed when I was off script. "Baby," she whispered, playful. "Why are you so quiet tonight?" The question floated there, wrapped in pink ribbon, but beneath it I heard the real plea. "Don't ruin my birthday." I opened my mouth to lie the way I had for weeks. Work stress, headache, anything. But the words jammed behind my teeth because the truth had already started bleeding. It began 3 Tuesdays ago. Nothing cinematic, no thunderclap. Just a notification that lit the lock screen of her phone while she showered. The steam fogged the mirror. I stood outside the bathroom door holding the device like it was a live grenade. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Same time tomorrow? M." No profile pic, just initials. My pulse hammered so loud I was sure she'd hear it over the water. I told myself it was a coworker, a girlfriend, a wrong number. I repeated it until the sentence curdled. When she stepped out, towel knotted at her chest, droplets racing down her collarbone the way they had on our honeymoon, she smiled and asked why I looked pale. I said the office AC was brutal. She kissed my forehead, accepted the excuse, and the lie slid into place like a coin in a vending machine, cheap mechanical final. But lies have weight. They settle in the sternum and press until breathing feels borrowed. I started cataloging discrepancies the way other men track fantasy football stats. Sarah's yoga class now ran 90 minutes instead of 60. Her phone lived face down, a new religion. She showered the second she walked in, scrubbing away the day before she'd even said hello. I'd always loved how she smelled after work, coffee grounds and the faint vanilla of the bakery downstairs from her office, but lately she came home odorless, laundered, as if someone had pressed her between sheets of bleach. I hated myself for noticing. I hated her for making me notice. The real fracture came on a Thursday that tasted like metal. I'd driven to the pharmacy for her migraine pills, and on the way back I took the long route past the Riverfront Hotel where we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary. The valet remembered me, still called me Mr. Sarah. And when I rolled past the porte-cochere I saw her silver Civic tucked between 2 black SUVs. Same dent in the fender from when she'd misjudged the garage pillar last Christmas. My foot slipped off the accelerator. The car behind me laid on the horn. I pulled into the loading zone, heart-punching ribs, and stared at the entrance until my eyes burned. She emerged 23 minutes later. Hair in a low knot, blouse untucked, cheeks flushed the way they got after sex or sprinting. A man followed 2 steps behind, tall, salt and pepper at the temples, hand hovering at the small of her back without quite touching. They didn't kiss goodbye. They didn't need to. The air between them crackled with shorthand I wasn't fluent in. I drove home on autopilot, parked crooked, and sat in the dark until the dashboard clock blinked 2:17 a.m. When she slipped in at 2:39, I pretended to sleep. She stood over me a long time. Long enough for me to memorize the rhythm of her breathing. The way guilt sounds when it tries to be quiet. The mattress dipped. Her lips brushed my shoulder. "Love you," she murmured, a reflex now. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My tongue had turned to stone. The weeks after were a slow hemorrhage. I became a detective in my own marriage, ashamed of every keystroke. I mirrored her laptop when she stepped out for oat milk. I installed a GPS app on the family plan and watched a red dot dance across the city grid on nights she claimed book club. I read the messages, God, the messages, until the words branded themselves behind my eyelids. He called her Red because of the streak she dyed last summer on a whim. She called him Professor, even though he sold commercial real estate. They traded memes about marriage like teenagers swapping notes. She told him she felt invisible at home. He told her she was oxygen. I wanted to scream that I'd spent 10 years learning every cadence of her laughter, that I still bought the peach gum she chewed when anxious, that I'd held her hair back through morning sickness and chemo scares for her mom and the miscarriage we never named out loud. But the screen didn't care about context. It only showed the part she'd chosen to give away. Tonight, her birthday, I'd planned to confront her after the cake. I'd rehearsed it in the shower, in the car, in the produce aisle, squeezing avocados until the cashier asked if I needed help. I would be calm. I would be fair. I would ask for the truth and accept whatever shape it took. But the candles kept burning lower, and the restaurant jazz kept crooning about endless love, and every note felt like a taunt. When she asked again, softer, "Seriously, talk to me," the dam splintered. "I saw you," I said. The words scraped out raw. "At the riverfront. With him." Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. Chocolate trembled on the tines. For one heartbeat the room narrowed to the pulse in her throat. Then the fork clattered, and the sound ricocheted like a gunshot. "You followed me?" "Not denial strategy." "I didn't follow you," I said. "I recognized your car. Same dent. Same everything." She glanced around. The couple beside us pretended fascination with their creme brulee. Sarah's hands flattened on the tablecloth, knuckles white. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I whispered. "I've read the text, Sarah. I know about the hotel keycards in your gym bag. I know you told him you haven't felt wanted since the baby we lost. I know you said I look through you like your glass." My voice cracked on the last word, and I hated the crack, hated the wetness on my cheeks in public. "When did I stop seeing you? Tell me the moment, because I missed it." She stared at the ruined cake, wax bleeding into frosting. "You didn't miss it," she said finally, so quietly I leaned in. "You were there for every appointment, every ultrasound, every night I cried myself to sleep. But after you went back to work like nothing happened. You smiled too big, touched me too careful like I might break. I needed messy. I needed someone to look at me like I was still whole." Her eyes lifted, and for the first time in months they weren't performing. They were exhausted. "Marcus doesn't know the history. That's the point. With him, I'm not the woman who failed at motherhood. I'm just red." The confession landed gentle as a scalpel. I felt the cut but not the blood yet. Around us, waitstaff glided like nothing was shattering. I wanted to ask if she loved him. I wanted to ask if she still loved me. Instead I heard myself say, "Happy birthday," because the absurdity was the only truth left. She laughed once, short, wet, involuntary, then covered her mouth. "I'm sorry," spilled out, over and over until the words lost shape. I believed the sorrow. I just didn't know what to do with it. Sorry didn't unwrite the messages. Sorry didn't unstain the sheets I'd washed twice a week like a penance. We paid the bill in silence. In the car she reached for my hand. I let her hold it, but my fingers stayed limp. Streetlights strobed across the windshield, painting us in alternating shades of confession and denial. When we pulled into the driveway she whispered, "What happens now?" I killed the engine and stared at the house we'd painted sage green the summer she was pregnant. Our dream palette, she'd called it. The porch light flickered, a bulb we kept meaning to replace. "Now," I said, tasting rust, "we stop pretending the cracks aren't canyons." I got out, walked around, opened her door the way I had on our first date. She stepped onto the pavement, heels clicking like punctuation. Inside, the hallway smelled of vanilla and the lie we'd lived in. I hung her coat, the one with the tiny pill on the cuff, from nervous fingers. She watched me, waiting for verdict or mercy, maybe both. I faced her under the chandelier we'd argued over for 3 weeks. Too flashy, too dim, perfect. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "But I'm not staying for the version of us that died in that hotel room either. Tomorrow we talk, really talk? Or we start dividing the books." My voice shook, but the words held. Her shoulders folded inward, a paper crane losing air. She nodded, tears tracking mascara into tiny rivers. I climbed the stairs alone. In the bedroom I opened the window to let October bite the room clean. Downstairs I heard her crying. Not the theatrical sobs of movies, but the ugly, hiccuping kind that scrapes the throat. I didn't go to her. Not yet. Some wounds need witness before they need comfort. Lying on my side of the bed, still my side for now, I stared at the ceiling crack we'd nicknamed the Mississippi. Sarah once traced it with her fingertip and said it looked like a lifeline. Tonight it looked like the path her secrets had taken straight through my heart. I thought of the birthday candles, how quickly they drowned in sugar and wax. Love isn't the flame, I realized. It's the wick, thin, ordinary, stubborn enough to burn even after the pretty part is gone. I whispered into the dark, not to her, not to God, just to the man I was becoming. The quiet wasn't emptiness. It was the sound of everything I thought we were breaking inside me. One true note at a time.